Welcome to episode 118 of the High Volume Hiring Podcast. I am Stephen Rothberg. I'm the founder of College Recruiter, and I'm very interested in the conversation we're about to have. It should be a very gooderist conversation because we're going to be talking about fluency. Jeanette, good to see
We
you.
are. Good to see you too.
See, I kind of
All
changed that
about
up from
fluency.
our previous conversations.
Yes,
So yeah.
you did. You did. Well, awesome. Well, I'm Jeanette Leeds, if you don't know already. And I'm really excited because today we have Chelsea Schein with us. She is the VP of Research Strategy at Veris Insights. And she also teaches at the Wharton School for Business. And so thrilled to have you here. We're going to talk about AI fluency and all of that. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeanette, Stephen.
Awesome. Absolutely. Maybe before we get into the conversation, maybe just give our listeners a quick, background, what Veris Insight is, and then we'll get into AI fluency.
Absolutely. My name is Chelsea Schein, and I'm VP of Research Strategy at Veris Insights. I'm also now my 8th year teaching undergrad negotiations and undergrad business ethics at the Wharton School of Business. So I'm deeply embedded in the college to career pipeline. Veris Insights was founded, actually, this is our 10th year anniversary. We're a market research intelligence focused on talent acquisition as well as the early career talent space.
Cool. So we wanted to talk with you, Chelsea, about AI fluency and whether employers should be assessing for that, how they should be assessing for that. But before we get into like the real meat, let's just do table stakes. What is AI fluency?
Yeah, absolutely. In the early career recruiting space, I'm getting asked questions about talent fluency on a daily basis. Right now, employers are recognizing that the value proposition of early career really lies in the fact that Gen Z talent is often AI native. When I talk about AI fluency, what I'm really meaning is, do people have these basic skill sets to be able to use AI to accelerate the work process? And that's a little bit different than those AI foundational scientists, those PhD levels. This is the AI talent that we want from kind of day one for early career talent to basically accelerate processes once they start work.
I love that. That's really helpful. One of the things, and I think we have this as our official title for this episode is, if you're hiring, I'm actually reading this. If you're hiring for AI fluency solely by measuring prompting skills, you may be screening for an outdated skill. So I'm literally reading that because, so much of, I think the foundation of when you're using AI and a lot of these LLMs is, putting in a good prompt, right? Like, and that, but it's moved beyond that. So maybe you could unpack that a little bit because, things are evolving fast. So where are we? What are you seeing?
Yeah. Unlike pretty much any other skill you're hiring for, where you really kind of know the canon of what you're looking for, AI is a really rapidly changing skill set.
Yeah.
So when I was advising clients 6 months ago, actually even just 3 months ago, if we were looking for a way of screening for AI fluency, it was almost exclusively about prompting. Are folks able to give the right type of context? Are folks able to really kind of define down their request, define a persona, define a goal for the LLM? In the last 6 months, though, AI has moved from a prompt-based chat system to a new era of agentic AI. So now when we're really looking for AI fluency, prompting is really just kind of that base foundational skill. It's not necessarily sufficient to really understand full AI fluency. On top of prompting skills, you're also want to have an understanding, do they understand different models? Do they understand workflows? Do they understand prompts beyond skills, as well as kind of a whole suite of different capabilities beyond just prompting? So prompting alone is just not enough today.
So when you and your colleagues at Veris Insights are advising your clients, and if I understand correctly, those clients are mostly very large organizations. Your consulting work with them isn't completely about early career hiring, but a lot of it is. So when you guys are talking with the talent acquisition people about how to assess candidates to make sure that marketing assistant, that salesperson, that auto mechanic, whoever has a sufficient level of AI fluency, how do you have that conversation? Like, what do you tell them, like what they should be looking for, how they should be looking for that?
Absolutely. And here's why AI is just a slightly different thing than, again, any other skills we've been talking about, because it is such an evolving skill. we typically try to diagnose kind of two types of skills you want to kind of focus on. One is those human-centric skills that actually don't have to do with AI. And this is slightly counterintuitive because usually when folks say, hey, help us diagnose AI fluency, they want to talk about AI. But innovators in this space are recognizing that the future innovators in AI are going to be the ones that have deep critical thinking, a deep mindset for growth and agility, as well as deep underlying curiosity. Because the skills today are not going to be the skills that are going to be present when they start their full-time job. So they're looking for very human-centric, hunger-based skills that are kind of ageless, but really important. Then, of course, there's the second camp of skills, which are more specific for AI. And that's when we talk about, okay, let's make sure we continually update what those particular questions, what the skill sets we're kind of screening for based off of the latest innovation. And that's tricky because it's constantly evolving.
Absolutely. It's interesting because I think it was over this past weekend, I read an article and I can't remember what company it was, but it was like one of these big early career hiring company. I don't remember if it was consulting or Wall Street, but effectively it talked about how they're changing their training programs to be not just like more technical training, but literally focusing on critical thinking and teaching that as a skill set. So I think it's really interesting to hear, thinking about AI fluency, it's actually, as part of that, it's critical thinking. What sort of questions or things when companies are interviewing, at scale, hiring a ton, like what other things should they be looking for or asking about? Any advice there?
Absolutely. And that's the article, I believe, was Business Insider at KPMG.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
A fantastic initiative.
You guys share a subscription?
Maybe.
Like maybe Netflix also. Can I have the password?
Yeah. It's worth folks looking into because it's a fantastic spotlight on a really great initiative, which is training their interns to not just think about linear thinking and those technical skills that have been useful for decades, but the nonlinear and creative thinking and the human-centric skills. When it comes to actually the concrete question of how are you actually screening for these talents, there's a few questions that have really stood out to me. In that AI field, one set of questions have to relate with how their use of AI has shifted over the last 6 months. So for example, how are you using AI today that's different from how you're using it 6 months ago? Another question is a question about discernment, which is critical thought, which is where does AI go wrong? So if you want to solve a business problem, what's actually not a good candidate for use of AI? It's a slightly counterintuitive framing, but it helps really clearly demonstrate the deep critical thought and discernment within that AI space.
The discussion around critical thinking skills, I think, is fantastic. We've heard forever that employers value it. I've also seen forever that employers have rarely hired for it. They seem to be much more, when I look at the early career space going back a few decades since I've been involved in it, the reality is most employers seem to have hired from certain schools, certain majors, maybe GPAs. Were you in this club? Were you in varsity sports? What those sorts of like more kind of hard skill things easier to measure that might cause the hiring manager to say, oh, that's what I did. And clearly I'm very successful. And so therefore I want to hire you because you're going to be a mini me. What I'm hearing you say though, is that maybe we finally are getting back to the point where like majors like liberal arts are going to be highly valued. The years ago, Dan Black at EY, fantastic, brilliant. Those who don't know him need to. But when he was in charge of like their college and university recruiting or whatever they called it back then, I remember him saying that EY hires a lot of liberal arts majors because, not exclusively, but a lot of them, because, and I think the way he put it was, we can teach you how to read a balance sheet, but we cannot teach you how to think critically. Are you seeing that more from your clients?
We're seeing it in increasing conversation, and it speaks my heart. I'm an ethics professor at a business school with a philosophy major undergrad.
And I was a finance major, and so yeah. I get it.
Me.
I feel your pain, Chelsea.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
McKinsey released a statement in the HBR's IdeaCast a few weeks ago about how they're embracing this new era of AI by looking more into liberal arts talent. So we're absolutely kind of seeing this shift in this trend to kind of understand students more holistically. There's not just a checkbox, it's trying to understand, do they have critical thinking so they can maintain really strong discernment, especially in this era of AI.
Wow. So if you want to hire people who are going to be really good with the AI tech, hire liberal arts majors. That's a little counterintuitive.
Experience taking a logic class is probably one of the best preparations for doing prompting.
I
Because what
actually
logic
agree.
is diluting down to fundamental parts.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I'm literally like speechless over that statement, but it's so true. I mean, following on that, I mean, one thing we were talking about in the green room a bit was like, and you mentioned this a little bit already, is the difference how someone's using AI today versus 6 months ago, like, and how they're evolving with that. And then, you know, the part we were talking about in the green room, not yet, but like how people are using the different models for different things. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think it's really interesting.
Absolutely. If you haven't experimented with the latest models of AI yet, you really should. There's basically 3 core models out in the market. There's Google Gemini, Anthropic Claude, as well as ChatGPT from OpenAI. Each of them have different skills. In the last few months, agentic-based systems have been introduced beyond coders. So right now, if you install Claude Coworker, you can give it a prompt, and it will take control of your mouse and start pointing to different places. It's a huge kind of structural risk for an institution, but it does hint at the fact that folks can that AI is now truly in this agentic era. Just to make this a little bit more concrete, I now use Notebook LM. I upload all my course readings in it, and I say, hey, give me a study guide pointing to the particular articles. I then say, hey, give me some slides. I just want to know what my students are doing. So when I go to career test, I at least compare it. And that's just one simple example. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I love Notebook LM too. It's a Google product. It's free. It's fantastic. You can upload PDFs, you can upload YouTube videos, and you can set it to kind of create almost like a podcast with a male voice, a female voice, and they have a conversation. You can tell them to be funny. You can tell them to be serious. You can tell them to speak to you at a graduate school level or an 8th grade level.
Yeah.
It's really good. Their jokes are even worse than mine, but so be it. I think we have time for one more question. Jeanette, do you want to grab it?
I'm always happy to ask the last
cool.
question. So let's bring it to like even more practical. So I'm an employer, high volume, hiring a bunch of early career. Like, aside from the critical thinking piece, are there other kinds of questions or things, again, from the AI fluency, that you would also, like, any other like last pieces of advice? Like, what else should organizations, heads of talent, be really asking about?
Chelsea, she's basically asking you to tell her how to fully automate her work so that she can just like finish Netflix.
Exactly. I need to finish watching Bridgerton.
Oh,
I need to start.
Absolutely. In this area, there's always going to be the importance of human in the loop, especially as it relates to hiring. But what I'm seeing across market now, especially as it relates to AI fluency, is one, the critical thinking, absolutely.
Yeah.
Then also we're seeing an increased focus on proof of skills. So employers asking, do you have a portfolio? Trying to kind of demonstrate, is there some evidence of integration? It's tricky because in a lot of students' coursework, they're not allowed to use AI. So we're looking for Gen Z talent to be AI fluent, but also being aware that there's kind of restrictions there, but they're looking kind of for proof and evidence that AI has been used really successfully in the past.
I love that, the evidence piece. And yet schools, universities are like, AI, don't use it, because they want to make sure people are learning to think critically. So this is an interesting balance there. It was something that locally I was just on school board discussing. So
yes,
it'll be interesting how that all evolves. Although there's lots of cases to use AI outside of school and university.
It does not seem to be mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Right. And I think 2 years ago, I think we very much thought that conventional wisdom was you're either using AI or you're thinking critically. And I'm glad that you sort of shed
Yeah.
really good light on that, Chelsea, that it's
Both.
that it's an all of the above
Yes.
strategy.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. This was
Yes. Thank you.
really informative. I'm so happy to that more and more employers are sort of like embracing this and seeing that, like, you don't see employers anymore saying don't use a calculator because I want to make
Right.
sure that you know how to
Right.
do long division, right?
Oh,
And this is just
thank
a
God.
much better calculator. So
Yes.
says the
On that
finance major.
Here's to calculators.
Exactly.
Chelsea, thank you so much. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Cheers.
Bye.